We know that there are 10 divine attributes. They're called spheros. What are those 10 attributes? 3 intellectual and 7 emotional. The 3 intellectual are Chachma, Bina, Das, and the 7 emotional are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, so on. Love, kindness, judgment, compassion. But what exactly does sphera mean? We translate it as attribute. What is an attribute? So when I ask people, their answer usually is, the 10 attributes. So, there are 10. What's an attribute? Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. I know their names. What's an attribute? What is a sphera? There are 10 of them, and they each have a name. What is them? What is a sphera? The word sphera actually means shine, a brightness, a revelation. There are 10 ways in which God shines forth, reveals himself. So in creation, there are 10 utterances. God created the world with 10 utterances. So when it comes to creating, there are words that bring the world into existence. Let there be light. Let the earth give forth vegetation, and so on. Even let us make man. So there are words, and those words create. But the creation that those words produce don't reveal God, they conceal God. The world covers the presence of God, and it appears to exist without him. So these are not called spheros, these are called mamoros, utterances. The 10 spheros, they are 10 ways in which God makes himself known. They are not creations. Aside from the fact that they're not physical, there are metaphysical things that are created. Angels were created on the Monday of creation and on the Thursday of creation. So angels are not physical, they're not corporeal, but they are created. They're manufactured. Spheros are not creations. In the proper technical translation, they are emanations. The sun does not create light. It gives off light, which means light emanates from the sun. So these 10 attributes are emanations, not creations. God chose these 10 forms of expression, and they reveal him. They allow us to get a glimpse of him rather than conceal him. Of course, the glimpse we get is finite, because kindness is only kindness. It's not judgment. And judgment is only judgment. It's not compassion. And compassion is not kindness, and it's not judgment. It's only compassion. But these are things that don't conceal God. They reveal God, but they are a limited revelation. So when we see God's kindness, we get to know something about him. About him. When we see God's compassion, we see something about him. When we see his judgment. Right? So they all let us know something about God. They let God shine through. They're not creations. Creations block the Creator. Well, unless we intervene and do something to reveal the Creator in his creation. So what does the word sphera mean? Emanation, a shining. Obviously, God is none of those 10 things. He is not kindness. He is not judgment. He is not compassion. He has kindness, he has judgment, and he has compassion. So he contains all of them, but they are not him. Not even the sum of all the parts is still not him. He chose to reveal himself in these 10 ways. Had he chosen some other way, that would have worked too. Certainly when it comes to creation, we say the laws of nature. There are no laws of nature. There is the obedience of nature to a law. Nature doesn't make laws. The Creator instructs nature, and nature obeys its Creator. Now, when God tells nature how to behave, when God gives nature a path along which it should flow, it's a choice that God made that he could always change and replace with something else. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Water flows down. Tomorrow, God can decide water should flow up. Hot air rises. Tomorrow, God can decide doesn't have to rise, it should go down. Even we know that 2 and 2 is 4. Why is 2 and 2 4? What does it mean that 2 and 2 is 4? There's no reason. In this world, as God set it up, he made it so that 2 plus 2 becomes 4. If he had made it that 2 plus 2 is 6, we would have gotten used to that. So all the things that we call laws of nature are, in a sense, arbitrary choices on God's part. And that's why there are miracles. Miracles means the order in which God arranged the universe is only arbitrary. It can always change. And on occasion it will change. And we will call that a miracle. So now we have a definition for another word. Miracle. What's a miracle? The doctor, God forbid, says there's no hope. The patient survives and lives 20 years. It's a miracle. But what exactly do we mean by that? The word miracle in Hebrew is nes, or nes, which also means a banner, a flag. What is the purpose of a banner? You raise up a flag or a banner on a tall pole so that it can be seen from a distance. And that marks the spot so that people can find their way back home. Or it identifies the spot so that you know that it is your home. So if you're flying the American flag, you know you're home. If you're an American. So the word miracle in Hebrew actually means something high and noticeable, visible. When the sea split and the Jews were able to cross through on dry land, that was a miracle. What is the miracle? People saw something they never saw before. Yeah, they saw water standing still, like a wall. No, they saw something much greater. They saw that the nature of water to flow isn't necessarily that way. There can be water that doesn't flow. It's rare, the exception to the rule, but the exception to the rule proves that the rule is not absolute. In other words, it doesn't have to be. So when God splits the sea, is he actually fighting the laws of nature? The law of nature is pulling the water in one direction, and God is telling it to go in the opposite direction. That's not necessarily a good description. Water flows because God wants it to flow, for no other reason. So when water flows downhill, it is obeying a divine command. When the sea splits, what is it doing? It's obeying a divine command. So which one is the miracle? Turns out they're both miracles, because by nature, water can't do anything. It doesn't even exist. So God has to create the water, give it a behavior pattern, tell it what to do, and then it does. So usually God says flow. Sometimes God says stand still. Which one is the miracle? The miracle is the one that catches your attention, because a miracle means a visible banner, a visible sign. When do you realize that God is running the world? When water flows or when water doesn't flow? They're both miracles. And in both cases, God is making it happen. There is nothing natural about it. In fact, the word nature means, I don't know why. I said, why does water flow downhill? It is the nature of water. In other words, I don't know. It just is. So water flowing downhill, hot air rising, gravity keeping things down to earth, those are not laws. Those are patterns of behavior. That pattern is arbitrary. On occasion, God will say, not today. Today, stand still. Flow uphill. Hot air, go down. Gravity, don't interfere. Will that be unnatural? No. Will it be a miracle? Yes, because it gets people's attention. So the water flowing downhill, we've gotten so accustomed, so habituated, that we don't even notice that God is doing it. But when water flows uphill, oh, there is a God after all. The same is true with a person who's told that he has no hope and survives 20 years. If he just kept on living for 20 years, no one would notice that God gave him 20 more years. But when the doctor said, you can't live anymore, it's over. And then he lives 20 more years. He said, wow, God gave him 20 years. Yeah, God gave him his first 20 years as well. That you didn't notice. So when we observe the familiar behavior of nature, we're not inspired. We don't notice the Creator because we're so familiar with it. But when something happens that we're not familiar with, we notice that there is something strange going on here. That's called a miracle. So the essence of the miracle is not what happened, but how it affects people. So what is a miracle? A miracle is when God does something unusual that draws our attention. The exception to the rule that makes us notice and realize what the rule is all about. So if the water can split and stand like a wall, then when it's flowing, is it really being natural? Or is flowing also a miracle? But a miracle we've gotten accustomed to, so it doesn't draw our attention anymore. So if the sea had split and there was no one there to see it, will it still be a miracle? No. No. Let's put it in different words. It is not a miracle that God can make water stand still. He can create water. So he can make it stand still. He can make it flow. He can make it disappear. He's the creator. So, wow, God can do that? That is not wisdom. The miracle is, I've been watching water flow all my life, and it never occurred to me that by doing that, the water is obeying its creator. I just thought water flows. Now that I see that water does not flow, it gives me a whole new appreciation of the water that does flow. So when I see a miracle, I notice and I become aware that everything in nature is a miracle because the whole world was created out of nothing. That's really humbling. It's inspiring. It's eye-opening. It's liberating. You don't despair because there's no hope. There's always hope. Who made the law that says that if you have this kind of fever, you can't survive? There's no such law. Every doctor will tell you, for every law that they know about, there are exceptions galore. They call it an anomaly. That's only because we haven't seen much of it. Not because dying from this is normal, not dying is not. They're both not normal. They're both not normal. They happen only by divine decree. So, if God can tell you to be healthy, God can tell you to not. If God can tell you to be ill, He can also tell you to survive. These rules of nature are flexible. So somebody once said, you know, the laws of Torah are not like the law of the land. The law of the land was installed by people who agreed, kind of arbitrarily, but by consensus, that these are the laws we're going to establish. Had they made different laws, we would be a different country, and we would be living by those laws. So the laws of Torah are not like that. They're not reached by consensus. So somebody said, right, the laws of Torah are like the law of gravity. You can't fight it. You can't make exceptions. Actually, the laws of Torah are real laws. Gravity is not a law, it's a habit. It's a custom. Things fall back to earth because that's the custom that God instilled in them. There's no law. So when God makes something not fall down, he's not fighting gravity. Gravity is perfectly flexible and will do whatever God instructs it to do. Equally unnatural, equally real. So life is a constant miracle. And we know this because of the exceptional miracles that give us that clue and open our eyes to what nature really means. So I might say there are consistent natural miracles and there are the exceptional, unique miracles, but everything's a miracle. Shalom Aleichem. How are you? You know, I do a lot of talking, a lot of Zooming, many classes, many subjects, but that's all formal stuff. Hopefully good stuff, but formal. We also have a Wednesday night meeting that's more informal and kind of Hamish. If you want to join us for that kind of an event, interactive, time for questions and so on. If you want to join us for this side of conversation, click on the link below and join us every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Well, maybe not every Wednesday night, but we try to make it every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, a more informal chat, which can be more enjoyable at times than the formal stuff. So check it out. Click on the link and join us. Try it. You'll like it.